Hey there, everybody. My name is Danny K. This is Danny K Crypto, and you have tuned in for another episode of Blockchain Breakdown, where we break down blockchain in 10 minutes or less. Today, on episode 9, I believe, we're going to be talking about one of my favorite original cryptocurrencies, and that is going to be Dash, or digital cash. So what is Dash? Well, it's a first-generation cryptocurrency with the focus of being anonymous, fungible, decentralized, and cost-effective. Dash kind of advocates for itself as to be the peer-to-peer decentralized electronic cash. Much like you use cash in everyday transactions in the analog world, well, Dash wants to be used for that everyday transactions in the digital space. So Dash is considered to be a blockchain 1.0, one of the original cryptocurrencies, peer-to-peer electronic digital assets. In fact, it is a fork of the Bitcoin protocols and is also a form of a decentralized autonomous organization, or DAO, and it's ran by Masternodes. More on that later. Some notable figureheads in the world of Dash is Evan Duffield. He was actually a computer programmer and founder and creator of Dash. And another important person in the world of Dash is Amanda B. Johnson. She was actually an early cryptocurrency YouTuber that was hired by Dash to create a web series, and basically was considered the first YouTuber to receive funding from Dash's DAO, and considered to be the first freelancer to be paid via the blockchain. So a little bit of history there for you. And if you don't know about Amanda B. Johnson, she still has some of her old videos up, and back in the early days of crypto, 2012. I remember watching some of her videos, 2012, 2013. She used to do kind of cryptocurrency news on everything, and then got approached by Dash, I believe, and the Dash Foundation, and they kind of steered her towards talking solely about Dash, and she became kind of a really big figurehead for Dash and got paid through Dash's DAO and through the blockchain. So that's kind of cool that she's considered the first freelancer to be paid via the blockchain. Well, what goals or problems does it hope to solve? Basically wants to create a fast and fully self-sustaining currency with self-regulating guidance by the way of a DAO and by Masternodes. A DAO, DAO, is a decentralized autonomous organization, or in layman's terms, kind of like a corporation or organization ran by specific rules encoded as a computer program and ran on the blockchain that allows it to be completely transparent and controlled by shareholders, or in this case, masternode holders. So what is a masternode? It's kind of like in a way, it's kind of like a server, but not really. It has a mixture, the Dash blockchain has a mixture of kind of mining and proof of stake components to it, even though not technically correct either when you're getting into like the minutia of it. But essentially, you can set up a master node on Dash for about 1,000 Dash tokens. And in a way, you set up that master node with those 1,000 tokens, kind of like staking, but not really staking. And you then have kind of like some governance and control over the project. Your masternode then helps run and complete transactions on the blockchain. And much like mining, when you're mining a cryptocurrency, you get a reward for running the transactions. Same thing when your masternode is running those transactions, you also get a reward. It's kind of like a hybrid with both proof of work mining and proof of staking in terms of governance. So another interesting thing about Dash is the way it's kind of set up in its kind of treasury system. Dash is unique that it's set up to earn 10% of all mining-based transactions, and those rewards, that 10%, is deposited into a treasury that is then controlled by the DAO, or the digitally autonomous organization, and helped governed by the masternode holders. This has been done to secure long-term growth and funding for the project and to make sure it remains sustainable and cost-effective for years to come and allows for continual developing. And I think this is kind of a really cool, interesting way to approach a project, because a lot of these, especially with ICOs and things like that, they get a giant lump sum of money and then that's it, right? And they are at the whim of that giant pot of money and whether or not that value is going to go up or down in order to continue to fund their project. And granted, a lot of the other cryptocurrencies out there are kind of set up as nonprofits and they take donations and things like that. But Dash, I think, is really interesting that they have that 10% of mining structure set. And I think that's a really interesting and innovative way that will kind of sustain long-term growth in Dash. And I really enjoy that aspect. Something else that is kind of a cornerstone of what Dash has been doing, is they've found a lot of success, supposedly, in emerging markets. They have set themselves up in countries that have seen quite a bit of currency inflation, in South America with Venezuela, the Bolivar, things of that nature. And they're basically trying to focus on helping those that are unbanked or underbanked have access to funds faster and quicker. However, I will say that even though there had been a lot of reports about how Dash was focusing a lot in those emerging market areas, for the most part, a lot of people have then said, oh, well, really, most people just go towards Bitcoin. They don't really use Dash or anything because Bitcoin has kind of had the name brand. But regardless, that's kind of one of the things that they've been working on. So let's take a look at some notable historical events. Originally, Dash was really heavily focused on anonymity, being anonymous. Originally, it was first launched in January of 2014 as Xcoin by Evan Duffield, forking Bitcoin's blockchain, which was then later rebranded to Darkcoin in March of 2015, and was again focusing more on the anonymous, kind of confidential transaction aspect. But then in March of 2015, Darkcoin was rebranded yet again to what we now know today as Dash. Something interesting, in early of 2017, Dash founder Evan Duffield and a number of other developers on the Dash team started to fund a business incubator at ASU, Arizona State University, which they essentially voted through the DAO blockchain treasury and allowed to use some of their treasury funds to fund a blockchain research and education lab at Arizona State University, which is still open and doing research today. In February of 2019, a news article came out in a magazine that actually said that Dash was one of the most popular and well-known digital assets in Venezuela during the midst of its hyperinflation currency crisis, and was, and claimed that it had been used quite frequently, was a very commonplace during that time. However, it should be noted that this statement had been challenged by a couple other people in the cryptocurrency space and said that there was no actual hard evidence to back up that claim that Dash was actually being used more than another token like Bitcoin. So yeah, that about does it with Dash. It is a pretty interesting project. I'm really fascinated by how they structured that treasury. I think that was a really smart move by the founder that not a lot of other cryptocurrency projects have thought about. And I think that will give Dash a competitive edge. I mean, there's obviously a lot of other things that are going to be very difficult for Dash to kind of overcome in the long term. But I think the fact that they've allowed themselves to have that kind of 10% treasury for mining reward, I think that is a really interesting aspect of the coin and a really cool project about it. So what are your thoughts on Dash? Do you think that that's something sustainable for the long term? Would you ever be interested in setting up a Masternode? Or do you think that because it has that private transaction option that it's going to kind of be left in the dust because regulators don't really like privacy? Let me know your thoughts. Feel free to leave a comment down below. If you like this video, give it a like, subscribe if you want more stuff just like this. My name is Danny K. This is Danny K Crypto, and thank you for watching. See you in the next one.